Welcome, everyone, to Teach Me PCB. I'm the creator of Teach Me PCB and the co-facilitator of this year's cohort. And I'm lucky tonight to be joined by the other facilitator, Jesse Robinson. Jesse, man, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing okay, man. It's great having you over tonight. I know it makes for a long day for you, but man, we love having you.
Yeah, I love being here.
So, hey, I hear you have something to show off. You want to just let's not bury the lead, man. Let's do it. What do you got for us?
So I finally assembled my TeachMePCB board. Maybe I can.
Let me full screen you.
There we go. Let me turn down the brightness a little bit. So there's my populated board. And I have most of the peripherals working. As you can see on the back here, these are the NeoPixels. I know. Here, let's try a less offensive color. So I got most of the peripherals working. All the keys are mapped to different buttons. Right now, these are just mapped through 1 through 9 and 0. The lights here, the eyes on the encoders, are run by the SPI shift register, and they can change colors. I just have them set to red for now. The right encoder changes volume and does play pause. The left encoder for the center click. The left encoder changes the brightness of the NeoPixels and then also changes the color of the NeoPixels. The only peripheral I haven't fully tested yet is the ambient light sensor. Adafruit has libraries for it for CircuitPython, but they're broken. So I need to work a little more on that. And I did talk to Yuri about writing some soft PWM for the RGB lights, and then maybe he'll look into the ambient light sensor, or I can look into it too. It does communicate, like if it's found at the right address. It's just that the libraries that are built in for it do not function. They puke on the import of the library to begin with. So,
whoops.
Yeah, it's probably something to do with the CircuitPython implementation on the Pico, because I saw people complain about it on the Raspberry Pi, but it looks like it was resolved, but it's not resolved on the Pico. It's missing some Adafruit's register library, and if you put that in manually, it still doesn't work, but at least it fails at a different point. It just hangs. So, but yeah, so there is the board, and I do have some sample code. What's nice about using CircuitPython is the code.py that goes on here. You can just load it up. It shows up as like a flash drive. You just load it up, you write the code, you hit save, like Control S, and it reloads it immediately. You don't have to like use REPL or anything like that. So, and I've been doing it all in VS Code, but you don't really have to. So yeah, there's our first tested out board using the, I guess, a revision 2 schematic. The only big bodges I had to do were the level translator, as someone pointed out in the forums. It should have been pulled to VCCA, and my VCCA is 5 volts, and I had it pulled to 3.3. And that'll be fixed on your guys' schematic, which is the crowdsourced Rev 3. When I was making the Pico footprint, I got the data plus and minus backwards on those test pads underneath. So I had to mess up my USB connection up here, which has just been all sorts of problems. And those were kind of the really big issues I had. I kind of wouldn't recommend anyone, don't do the bottom test pads if you're new to this stuff. It's more pain than it's worth. If you are going to do the bottom test pads, make sure your Pico is on a board edge, because I can't fit a USB connector onto this thing. I have to use my external USB unless I run wires. The test pads are actually, it's hard to see in here, but there's some through holes that we use to wick the solder down to the test pads, and you could always put wires to those. So yeah, that's where I'm at with this guy. I saw a question there, where did we get the board made? I got this one made from PCBWay, just because I wanted the black and white look. I think I have a bare board floating around here. My inspiration was I just started playing Warhammer, and I spilled water all over inside my bag of electronics. That's good for it. This is a logo. Yeah, this is a logo from one of the factions. So it's a 4-layer black mask board with Enig. So that's what that gold look is there. And all the artwork was done in SVG to Shenzhen, plugin for Inkscape, and it was all laid out in KiCad. So
that, sir, is amazing. Good for you. So a couple things that I don't know if you picked up on what Jesse was saying there, but it's great advice. If you're new to this stuff, you might want to not do our kludge where we tap the USB pads on the bottom through with plated through holes. You know, it's nobody's ever going to recommend that. We got away with it, or Jesse got away with it. I didn't, because I had my pads in the wrong spot. You know, so I'll probably order another round of boards for me, do something. But Jesse, that's amazing, man. And we've got it all going except the light sensor. And, you know, we're still weeks out from where we needed that to happen. I mean, probably a month out from where we needed that to happen, if not a month and a couple weeks. That's great, man. That is cool.
So yeah, I was just going to say, so people that are like looking through that schematic of the Rev 3, that schematic is pretty close to what this guy is. And this guy pretty much works. I mean, the light sensor, it needs code, but it functions. Like it talks I²C. So that is a working design, and you guys are just making it better by reviewing it for us.
Yeah, it really, the community that's developed around this course has been exceptional. I really, really like it. It's been great. Are there any potential gotchas or anything, any other bits of advice you'd like to give people as we head into that part of the course where they will be laying out their boards?
So my KiCad libraries have been or will be put up for people to play around with. It wouldn't hurt you to kind of look at the footprints. I know people have been reviewing the footprints that they've been making for each other. The only footprint that I had a problem with was my USB-C, and I removed it from the library because it was no good. I accidentally bought a mid-mount, but then I built a footprint around the mid-mount. So that footprint is good. It's not really good for anybody. So we deleted it from there. I think all the other footprints that I've included are okay. I have some marks on them like _NS, which means no silk, because on certain things on the black side, I didn't want silk. Other than that, the footprints were fine. I think one of the biggest things we're running into is, you know, when did we do our first revision of this board, Mark? Do you remember when you did your board?
Oh gosh, I'm thinking it hasn't been that long ago.
It has not. It's probably been like
mid-September, maybe.
And
right?
We've had to change. We've had a lot of parts go out of stock. Like on your board, before we even got to my board to your original release of our Rev 3, and things just keep going out of stock. So it's going to be a fight. My switches are out of stock. I heard recently the SPI shift register is out of stock. We've been going back and forth on the level translator. I think that one is in stock. At least the Pi Picos are in stock. And I heard them say, what was it? They're robbing themselves to keep the distributors like up and going. So
wow, man, yeah, it's getting crazy. I still have my stash behind me though, that I'm going to probably start cutting up this week and bagging.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to decide where I'm going to ship those things in this upcoming week. so people will have parts. As long as they get the parts before the boards, everything's good. But I just kind of want to start it because I know it's going to take a little while to kit that. But yeah, things have been going crazy. Well, that's why when, remember when we laid out this first board, as soon as we added a part to the board, I added those parts to my DigiKey shopping cart and bought them, right? So that we would be able to freaking continue. It was nuts.
Yep. I've left parts in overnight and they've disappeared. They'll have like thousands of quantity and they'll be gone. I think it's at the point, we're not the high part of the food chain like automotive companies are. And basically, if they see a part, they'd rather have it sitting on their shelves or, before they shut their line down. So like you see 2,000 parts, you think that's a lot. It's not a lot.
No, it goes so fast.
Yeah. They'll buy reels and reels at a time and let them sit on their shelves just to make sure they don't go lying down. Like when I worked at my last job, they do millions of boards a year. And there might be 20 of a particular cap on that board times a million boards a year. They're buying up a lot of stock. So
by all means. So how do you think because you were integral to last year's course too, even though, officially at this point in last year, you were still a participant. I hadn't promoted you to instructor yet. How do you think this year's course is going compared to last?
I think we have a lot more participation, I would say, than last year. And I think that, we did have a lot of back and forth on the circuitry last year too, but I think it was a lot of it was me and Bob and you going back and forth. And I feel that like the students this time around are really doing a lot of the investigation for us. And I don't know if it's because we had less time to get the initial design out, but they're finding lots of good things. And there's lots of good questions. And I think adding the Discord has been big for communication. I am a busy guy lately with life. And so I'm a lot more active on the Discord because I can easily do it from my phone. So if anyone needs to, ask questions and things, Discord is the easiest way to get a hold of me. But I think the Discord's been a lot, and the StreamYards and more YouTube. There's a lot more participation. I think that is better for everybody because someone was asking a bunch of questions and they were worried that they came off as, like asking too many questions, but it's like every one of your questions someone else has had, I'm sure.
Oh God, yeah.
So it's not a bad thing to ask the questions that others are too afraid to ask. You'll be their hero then.
Yeah, by all means. I feel a lot of the same things. I feel like it's going better this year. One of the things, and I wanted it last year too. So last year I had a lot more lead time. I had months, 3 or 4 months to get this course organized and put together. This time I had like 4 or 5 weeks. It was a lot faster from when they told me, go ahead versus when they wanted it. I always wanted a board in hand before the course started, right? That didn't happen last year by a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
By a lot. And that's, I think, because, you had the subject matter experts that we weren't fighting. We got along, but we weren't necessarily in agreement, I would say. And we weren't all necessarily ahead of the game. We were barely staying ahead of the class in a lot of cases. And I think that made it a lot more difficult. But yeah, there's a lot more communication from us. I still want more participation from the people out there in TV land, I had a comment, 3 or 4 weeks, not 3 or 4 weeks ago, but like 3 or 4 days ago, somebody said, so like, how many people are actually enrolled in the course, because it doesn't seem like there's that many based on, forums and whatnot. So on my end of things, I can log in and I can see, when the last time anybody logged in. And if I really want to, and I don't care to, but I could look and see every button they clicked whenever. So I can see hundreds upon hundreds of people going through the curriculum, but we're not seeing that participation in the forums. We are seeing 100, I would say maybe 100, getting close to it maybe, of people participating, but I don't know where the fall off is. I'm like, even tonight, office hours, it's, there's a core group of people. You, me, Brian will come after he's done with dinner with the grandkids. Elliot's here. He's not on screen tonight, but he's here. Probably Andrew, if he's going to have baby duty here soon, so his life's about to change. But I'd love to see other people ask questions, show up, and do stuff with us. We want to make this better for you guys. Yep. Elliot, dude, it's cool, man. I was commenting, not that you're not on screen. It's just that I would like to have other people interact and on screen, other than just the core group. The core group's fantastic, but we want more. Cookie Monster want cookie. That's all I'm saying.
How do you feel the participation is like compared to last year? Like I feel like last year, I think towards the end of it, I think our numbers were not that many people were getting through to the end, where I feel like we're still hanging in there with a larger portion than we probably double what we had last year.
The biggest pain point for me in this course was assembly. That was such a tremendous investment in time with nothing to show for it. Well, not nothing to show for it, but not to show for it what I wanted. So I think by doing it the way that we're doing, we're going to have more success and more people hang in. I wouldn't have hung in for 3 months waiting for my board if I wasn't, I would have gone off to Osh Park and ordered it or something, so I like to think we've solved that problem. I do feel like we have more active participants, more enthusiastic participants. So yeah, I like, and hey man, I'm not beating ourselves up for the first time. That was our first time doing a massive undertaking, right? This is our second time through. It's already better. And I'm sure if we're doing it again, it's going to get better still.
So, yeah. I think your goal, I don't think you've made any secret of it, but your goal is building the base so it gets better every single time, because you had a lot of the coursework from I call it revision 1 and revision 2 of the courses. You had a lot of the coursework from revision 1 that carried to revision 2, but now we're building a community, and we're going to work on like a wiki or other ways to convey information, have people edit, so it will become, your goal is a community, a PCB teaching community, not just a class here or there. And I feel like that wasn't the intent in the first go, and it's becoming an intent of this one. And I think it'll make it stronger. It's already stronger this go, and then it'll just keep snowballing.
I hope so. What I would love to be able to do is find my replacement. Not step away from the, level 1 course, but step back so then I can focus on content, because really what I want to do is teach more advanced stuff. We currently have, and we'll have to figure out what those designs look like. But we currently essentially get to design for connectivity. There is very little you can do other than, short some nets out that's going to keep your board from working, but that's not the way that electronics are headed. Every year we go through, or every 2 years we go through a die shrink. All the lithography places start making stuff smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and that's going to make the rise times go higher or quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker. They're going to shrink even more and more. So when like we're doing USB 2 stuff, and the base transmission frequency is, I don't even know. Do you off the top of your head? Let's call it 400 kilobits. It's way faster than that, but this is just an example. 400 kilobits per second. Slow. That's like old school, AOL modem stuff, ping, ping, noises. But that's not the frequency that can destroy your circuit. It's not the bit rate. It's how fast those bits transition. And they're transitioning faster and faster and faster with every passing year. They'll put the dies in the same packages that they used to be in, but they're smaller dies with faster rise times. And it's the energy in that transition that can destroy your circuit. That's where I think we need to teach people to get to. So I like this. I think this is a good base course, but I would like to get into rigid flex, semi-flex designs. I'd like to get into high-speed interconnect designs. I mean, stuff just keeps getting smaller. You know, how do you fan out a BGA? But for some of that stuff, we're going to have to come up with some cool projects that people want to do, and then we're going to have to solve that assembly problem, which, by the way, I'm working on little by little in the background. So I'll have to talk to you about that.
Okay.
Hey, do you have your badge from last year handy?
Not handy. I don't think I have any semblance of it in this room.
I don't have mine handy either. We just had a question asked if we had any of the things from last year. So last year we made badges, which is a cool project. A badge is a cool project, but the circuit was, in my opinion, a little too complex for a beginning circuit. There was too many parts, too much stuff to do, a lot of bottom terminated components, and the initial memory budget calculations that were done incorrectly, because we couldn't fit, even if you got everything done, you couldn't put all the firmware that you needed to on the microcontroller to get it to work. But there were other issues too. There was a lot of stuff that was completely outside of our control, like the shipping. I forget if it was USPS or UPS. They lost like 50 programmers for a month. You know, it was just like, it was hectic. So this is a good project.
Here, I got a KiCad render of the there we go.
Oh, and yes. Brian's here too. Hi, Brian.
Hello. So this was my badge. My intent was to make like a wearable badge that I could wear to conventions. And then I could display stuff on here, have a dice roller, etc. These are all like user switches. There's some NeoPixels up there. That's like a humidity and pressure sensor. Battery backup for an RTC. I think this was an accelerometer.
Yeah, the B055.
This was like a power switching circuit. This was our USB to serial converter. And I think that was, okay, so this thing isn't working right now. I put it away. I stopped working on it. I put a lot of energy into trying to get this to work correctly. For some reason, I could not get communication. This is an Arduino, this is an Atmel 328 standard Arduino chip. I could never get it working real well, like reflashing it. You could reflash it a couple times, and then it would just like puke out, and you couldn't reflash it again. And I thought for a while it was this chip. This was the
SAMD11.
Correct. Yeah. I don't know if I thought for a while it was an issue with this being the bridge, but I think it really had something to do with the corrupting the Atmega 328. Like once you start doing stuff with the screen, yeah, it was too much memory for it, and then you'd have to like reflash it with like Arduino base code. It wasn't happy. So unfortunately, this is like in a tote somewhere. But yeah, there was some really cool badges that came out of there. And besides people like showing off their completed one, I don't think I saw anyone that actually like had it running. But that might also been because it took so long to get them assembled that people kind of dropped off interest. Well, and there was a lot of work to do afterwards.
They were the bottom terminated components. You can't really do at home. You know?
Yes, this guy. And that humidity sensor. Whew.
BME 280, forget it.
Yeah, with the heat gun, I removed and put one of these back on. It wasn't too bad, but I have a lot of experience. Like at work, I do 0402, or I used to do 0402 stuff, and it was not a big deal. But like for a lot of people, like a heat gun is outside of their use and experience. So,
Yeah. So just to give you a quick rundown on what happened, Elliot, was the panel warped inside the reflow oven because the copper wasn't balanced. Kind of my fault a little. Yeah, it was my fault. So the panel crashed in the oven and all the parts fell off into the, so some stuck, some didn't, some were misaligned. It was a nightmare. It was so disheartening.
yeah.
I didn't want to open that box for a week. Yeah. But we're fixing it this time around. So, well, thanks for sharing, Jess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whoops is right. How you doing, Brian?
Pretty good. Couple of things I wanted to show you that I found digging around in my shop for the tools. This is the soldering iron I used as a high school student back in the early 80s. An old ceramic heater with a non-replaceable tip that was somehow pressed in there but is no longer. I didn't want to try to plug it in and have it go wrong. But the other thing I found was even older. I believe it was my late father-in-law's. And I think it's a little bit big for this project.
What would you use that for?
Stained glass windows.
Oh, okay.
Stained glass, maybe, but he was a manager for the local power company. So he had all kinds of electrical stuff that I didn't even know what was.
Huh.
So I had my first iron was a gun type that my dad had, and yeah, that's not meant for soldering electronics.
No.
So
I've got a pointy tip on the one that I do use that I'm going to try out.
So
later today or tomorrow, but my
Brian's
pine will be here Thursday, and I'm anxiously awaiting.
So Brian's also just been helping us start a wiki. We just did that within the last few hours. So the goal is to bring information out of Discord into the wiki for safekeeping, long-term storage, right?
Yep.
And he and Don McCoy are going to be working on that for us. Now, inside there, I did put referrer links because I found out if people do go there and they click on it, it's not an insignificant amount of money that you get. It's like 50 cents or $1 each time. So if there's tools that you guys want to buy off Amazon and you don't mind doing it, if you can get it cheaper somewhere else, go get it cheaper somewhere else. But if not, let's go to the wiki and we'll put the tool in there. You can buy it from Amazon. Through there, we get a commission. And my plan with these commissions and any Patreon money that we do is to send it your way, Jess. So, I was talking with my boss about that today. I want to do it in a semi-transparent manner so that I don't know how much money we're going to get. I don't think much, but I want to make sure that, it's not lining the coffers of the cat's litter box or anything. We want to either get it your way or maybe come up with a donation of some sort. So yeah, I also want to look for a STEAM, STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math.
Yep.
501c3 that we could maybe give a link to. So people who feel like they want to give back to the course, instead of giving us money, maybe we can pass it on to the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
But I still want to get you cash, sir.
That would be my wife would appreciate it for all the buying boards and components.
Hey man, I appreciate you. I do.
I need to trim the stick a little bit.
That's a big stick vise.
But it does work. I got enough stuff to make 4 of them so I could have them with, interchangeable. But yeah, it this I was gonna say this does it's got just enough pull to just set down on the board. So it's pretty cool.
I like when Mark had mentioned making that little fixture, like just like bent wire to hold stuff down. That is a great idea. You never have enough hands when you're soldering stuff. And how many times I'm like moving parts around when the solder's wet is just a nightmare. And you know what? The worst is when you pull your iron away and like the chip goes with it, and you're like, because it's sitting on there so long, you're like, yeah, that's probably no good. I'm just going to get another one.
Yeah, that not doing surface mount stuff, but stuff like soldering headers onto something or that level of stuff. I've many times been holding holding the part, holding the soldering iron, have the solder in between my lips, trying to touch it to I know there's lead in it. I shouldn't do that, but
yeah, I was going to say that might not be a technique that we recommend there, Brian.
It does not work fairly well, even. But when you've only got two hands, what do you do?
Yeah. All right. So Elliot's saying, speaking of buying things, question from Discord: if we order from Digi, how do we tell them we're from the thing they are sponsoring? Ooh, I don't know if you can.
I can't think of a way unless you let them know. I mean, you can assign like customer reference stuff in there, but like they don't look at that. That just goes on your parts. And like I replied in there, and I'm like, I wish I knew, because I had a little bit of trouble getting parts for my board. My key switches were kind of a mess. So
I think the easier way to do it, Elliot, is to go the other way around. If you do order from Digi, maybe send me a copy of your shopping cart and a note saying, hey, this course has been great. I'm a Digi fan now, or whatever you want to say. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Just send that to me and I forward it on to the Digi people. I just go bypass, because everything that Digi does is so computer automated. You never speak to a person, which by the way is good. It lets them go volume, but I could also, I need to follow up with them. They're going to donate some things to the course. But I haven't heard from them last week. I need to follow up this week. I'll ask them for maybe if there's like a coupon code, so that even if we don't get a percentage off, that would register in their marketing system. They would be able to detect that. But for now, maybe just let me know. That would be the easier way to go.
I will say that you mentioned how automated there are and, hands off. Like the couple times I've talked to their support, they've been, really helpful and responsive. Like you had mentioned, do the chat support. I've also called them on the phone before, and they're good about that stuff. So
yeah, no, I like Digi.
They never questioned me either. It's always like, I was missing this component. They're like, oh, okay. And then, they give me the component. They don't give you a hard time. So I've always appreciated that, because I'm not stealing a pack of 25 resistors. It's probably not in there. Or it might get lost in the paper of the packaging. I'm sure that happens too.
Yeah. No, I've always had good experience with Digi. That's one of the reasons that we're working with them instead of some of the other companies, right? Mm-hmm. One of the other companies I try to avoid like the plague, and it's not because of their parts, because they have plenty of parts on hand. It's not because of their customer service. They have plenty of customers on hand. It's because of the way their marketing arm treats their people. And, firing them without notice before Christmas, and, just doing some downright unfriendly things to some of my friends. And I've heard it from multiple sources that I trust. It's not just like, one guy's telling me this. I hear it from a lot. And I've heard it from people who I don't have a relationship with, at conferences and whatnot. So I try to steer my money away from them. But just because I don't want to get into any slander or libel issues, I am not going to mention what direction that particular company goes. So, anyways. So, Brian, what's for dinner?
Oh, go on.
Grilled turkey salad sandwich.
I thought we were doing pizza, man.
I didn't get the memo. Sorry.
That's okay. So, what else do we have going on in the course? Oh, sponsor things. So, here's something I need from participants, especially participants that work at companies that order circuit boards. But any participant would be handy. Last month, I billed out 191 hours. That's not all TeachMePCB, of course. I'm doing, lots of different things, but it's a lot of hours, and it's going to catch somebody's attention, I guarantee you. So if we could let them know the value that's being supplied for the time that they're allowing me to invest in this, that would be fantastic. I would appreciate that. So I am going to put up a questionnaire. I saw before my nap here that Andrew gave me a lot of questions I might consider adding. But then there will be a questionnaire on the main page that will ask people how they think the course is going. What do you like about it? What do you not? And if we need to do any midstream corrections, we can do them. So. All right. Out there in TV land, what questions do you have for us, or what would you like to know about the course or electronics in general? And if we'll give you a second to think of that, and if not, I'm just going to start riffing.
While they talk about that, there was a question in the Discord about what they should get to solder these boards. Of course, an iron one with multiple tips would be good, so you can go bigger on the through hole parts. You don't need a crazy small one. I'd also recommend flux. I use a flux pen. That helps a lot, and solder braid, because when you Chip Quick's the brand I have too. When you do solder some of the small components like the SPI shift register, you might do that via drag solder. That's where you basically just drag a ball of solder along and then you clean it up with your braid when you're done. That's a lot easier than doing individual pins and cleaner. Even if I end up soldering individual pins, I usually end up go back and use braid. Be careful, some braid doesn't have any type of flux or anything in it, and then it doesn't work well. Just hit it with your flux and then it'll suck things up and make some really clean joints. So,
yeah. As far as soldering iron recommendations, at this point, it appears that the course consensus is the pine sill. We'll put this at the wiki page too, but it's $25 from whatever the company is that makes these, or $35 from Amazon. I will put up a refer link if you want to buy from Amazon, but you can save $10. Well, you still have to pay shipping by getting one of these. Then,
is that similar to the TS100 that I've heard people talk about?
Yes. So the TS100, I don't actually like it as much.
Okay.
Let me switch views here.
My home kit has a Radio Shack fire starter. So I've always been looking to replace it with something. At least my fire starter has control, but these things have interested me for a while.
So yeah, and if you want, Jess, I can ship you the TS 100 if you want to play with it.
Sure.
But I think you would like the pine sill more. First of all, the TS 100's at top, the pine sill's at bottom. Looks like that is really bright and out of focus. Let me try to make that a little less obtrusive. Is that a little better to see?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Okay. Anyways, pine sill's at top. So the control buttons are right about where you want to put your finger. So it's easy enough to hit it. I don't like that. On the back side, the TS100 I don't like. The TS100 has a micro USB and a 5.5, 2.5 millimeter connection. The pine sill has a USB-C and a 5.5, 2.5 millimeter connection. You can plug this into a 45 watt USB-C power supply and you're portable instantly, which is cool. Now, as far as tips go, I don't think you need all these. it comes with, you can get a set of tips that goes pretty crazy. I don't want to get these out yet because then I won't know where they go. But for drag soldering, the glare's too horrible, isn't it? I got to take these out.
Is that the set that Amazon has for the spare set?
Yeah, this is the cheapest multi-set that I could find.
Are they compatible? Or do they have their own sets?
Yeah, they're totally compatible.
They both use the same thing.
Cool.
So you just take them out, plug them in, and you've got a brand new tip. Okay, so this is one tip that I'm sure I will like. It is, I've got a better camera. Sorry.
You have a lot of cameras.
I got these at an auction. It was great. They were throwing them out with the lenses that I actually wanted. All right, so here is our. Now I need that light back. Here is the first one that I'm sure I'm going to like. It's kind of a screwdriver tip. If you guys are you able to see that?
Yes. Yep.
The general profile. There is a drag tip that's rather small. I don't know if I haven't tried these yet, so I don't know if I'll like this one or not. But this one's a drag tip. You just get a bunch of solder up on the thing and you drag it across a fluxed
Would that
joint.
be called a conical?
Maybe. I'll be honest with you. I don't know the names of these things.
I'm not a tip expert either. Yeah. And it's so hard if you don't see them to know how big it is. It's like, oh, it's 0.4 millimeter diameter or it's 0.3. Well, what does that mean? Yeah. For soldering, you just got to get them in your hand.
This, I can't imagine I would ever use for soldering a PCB. The knife tip or the chisel tip or whatever it's called.
I will say some of the bigger tips are nice for removing components because if you can get a ball of solder on both sides of a chip component, you can heat them both at once and shave it right off.
Yeah. So probably the tips that I'll end up using, and now that I've forgotten which one's which, here, let me mark this. Give me a second here. White on white. I'm going to see that. So this one is just a generic pointy tip. I don't know what you call that. I'll probably use that. And that's probably it. I don't know that I need anything else. If you'll see in the soldering videos that I did for you guys, I did everything with a tip just like this because I didn't want you to think you needed expensive equipment to do it. So when time comes that we get to those, you're going to see them, and I think you're going to be okay. But if you did order the pine sill, it's going to come with this. And then personal preference, I kind of like drag soldering with it. I kind of like this tip. But still, go ahead.
I was going to say one thing to note, people probably that aren't familiar are going to want to go as small as possible, but that's not what you really want to do anyway. The smaller the tip, the harder it is for it to transfer heat. You got to turn the iron up. If you're on a ground plane, you're not going to heat that pin up, and it's a nightmare. So it's a balancing act. You don't need the tiniest tip to solder small stuff.
Yeah, I don't use the tiniest tip ever.
No.
Ever. But anyways, the nice thing about that, then you can either power it with an old, wall wart power supply, or if you have a 45 watt capable power bank, then you can solder it with one of these. So super easy. It's cheap. It's effective. That would be my recommendation. I didn't even know these existed until the course. And I got turned on to them by some course people. Elliot, I think, was the one that did it.
Okay.
So, Elliot, thank you. And it might have been Andrew. I don't remember at this point. I think it was Elliot that taught me some stuff about this. God, my mind's mush. But seriously, Jess, if you want the pine sill, it's yours.
I have the TS.
The TS.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take the better one, but no, that's fine.
Well, this is allegedly the better one. This is the more expensive one.
Yeah.
The pine sill
over twice the price.
The pine sill is 25 from the distributor, 35 from Amazon. The Pine Cell comes with this cable that you can hook up to a battery pack that you might even have. I don't know. And if you don't want that, if you just want your very own Pine Cell, let me know, man. I'll mail you one of those. I don't care.
No, for the little, I'll try out the one you like less because it's just going to go on my. I mean, I'll try it out, but it'll probably go on my travel kit and replace my wall iron. So
okay, you might need to remind me, but yeah, it's
no
yours.
problem.
It's yours. So you're going to want a soldering iron.
Yep.
Currently recommending the Pine Cell. You're going to want some braid. It comes in different diameters based on how much you think you're going to have to pull off. They sell much smaller rolls of this for pretty cheap. I'll find a link to that and I'll have Brian put it up in our wiki. And you're going to want flux, either in that form or syringe form. And Brian, we've got that up in the wiki already, don't we? Oh, you got yours.
That was the first one I posted because I had the link handy.
Sweet. Thanks, man.
Yeah, it came this morning. I haven't even squirted it on yet.
Yeah.
I've got to get this stupid thing trimmed down so I can move it around. It's a pain with a 3-foot stick on it. I don't think I'm ever going to have a PC board that big. So.
Yeah, man, that's pretty big.
I made a long one for contract work. I think that thing was like 20 inches by like 3 or something like that. It was not great to lay out. So
where is that thing? Oh, I got to do something about this office. I'm getting rid of those plastic boxes and moving stuff. What else do we think people need to know See, I feel like next week isn't all that exciting. It's something that needs to be done, but it's going to be the week after, and especially the week after that people are going to get hyped up about. But board layout comes the week of Thanksgiving. What do you think we should do about that?
You'll give people more time, which is nice because people have off.
Will they have more time or less?
Oh, in my world, more because I'm not working. But I mean, I'll do some traveling, so I probably won't be as active as I want to be. But
yeah,
I could move. I'm sorry, Brian, you were going to say something?
I was going to say if I was working, I would have more time because that's another whole, we don't typically do much on Friday. And, that would be a whole day I could spend on it rather than not, than having to work and just do stuff in the evening. But
is it going to be 1 week or 2 week?
For board layout?
Yeah.
Well, see, here's what I was thinking. If I move up schematic, okay, so remember how I was releasing stuff early at the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
So if I do that again, so this week is out now. People can do it whenever they want. But what if I moved up the schematic capture, if the content is ready to go, if I move that up to Friday? That makes this week feel a little shorter. I mean, nobody's going to go to jail if they don't finish. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. But then we do schematic from Friday to Friday, and at that point, they don't even need my permission. They have everything they need to know to go start laying out their boards come the following week.
And they probably will. I'm sure I was playing in there before you gave us the go-ahead.
Yeah, there's people who are already.
I will say that too. There's someone in the forums or Discord was really on about wanting to do a board that was completely different. And we're like, well, this course is based on this, so you can follow along and etc. But there's no reason you can't work on another board at the same time. I would say halfway through the course, I had already designed 2 or 3 other little boards just from things I had taught, I had learned during the course. So, and I think there's several people that are already doing that too. So that's something you can do. Get the more practice you get with your tool, the better.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say, barring anything I had yet to learn about the process, my board was done last night. You know, up to what I understand about trace widths and positioning vias and all that stuff.
Troublemaker.
It's there. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's I get ahead of things. I'm going to get bored after a while because I, you know, have to wait.
You're excited, man. No, by all means, Brian, if you're confident and you know you are certainly capable, if you're confident you've got it right, send it our way. We'll see if we can't do a review for you. But go ahead and go off and order that thing and get it assembled. I'll ship you some parts.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get the parts ordered this week or next week, but that's going to be one of the things I probably have to wait for is just the the stuff you can't send me that I got to order up. So
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
yeah, no, I'll send you the files. You want the files, or you just want a PDF of the schematic and the board?
That's usually.
Go ahead, Jess.
I think that's how we did it last revision, or last go of the course. PDF of the schematic, and then I usually create like a Word document or something that I just paste in the layers, like top layer, bottom layer, inner one, inner two, not the individual like top copper, top silk, blah blah blah. Like I just overlay. This is the top. This is the bottom. Here are inner layers if you're using them.
Yeah. The absolute fastest way to lay this out is as a 4-layer board, but it almost doubles your cost.
Oh yeah. I was lazy. That's how I did it.
I did too, because I was working for speed. You remember when I was doing that? That was nuts. But I've got two inner layers that are ground layers. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. But but man, did I route fast.
So that's really the benefit for those who haven't gotten that far in. Having those inner layers allows you to have like easier planes. Like you can have a power plane, then you could just drop vias and bam, you're connected, no traces. Ground planes, similar. Your ground plane is your most important plane. Mark's going to get into all of that stuff. If you have what I call fruit on the top and bottom, like components on both sides, it's really nice to have 2 ground planes and then try and run your power on one of your outer layers, because the way boards are stacked up, they're not stacked up evenly unless you tell them to. They're usually stacked up like this. And so you don't get the benefit if your ground plane's this one. This guy up here is not getting the benefit of that. You want your close coupling there. So 2 inner. I've started doing 4-layer designs with 2 inner grounds when possible. I didn't for this board just because I needed there's 2 power planes on here and that makes it harder. There's like 3.3 that goes everywhere and 5 that goes everywhere. So this side is 5. This side is ground, mostly because it's got open copper everywhere. And then I also have an inner ground and an inner 3.3. So, but it's not, there's no signal integrity going on here. So
no, there's no issues. Let me share with you, just for people who might have a little trouble knowing what we're talking about. So this was the brain board. It even had more curves, but Diptrace freaked out. It just didn't like everything I was doing for the art. So outer layer, inner layer 2, inner layer 3, outer layer 4. So these are the 2 center layers. Jazz, they're just big fat ground planes. This was, man, I wasted so much money.
Was it a pain to solder too? Like I have thermal reliefs and it still was a nightmare to solder some of these things. I didn't feel like I had that much copper, but ugh.
I actually didn't have that big a problem, and I'll tell you why. I was using leaded solder.
I did too.
Yeah, but I didn't know it was leaded, so I was like 40 degrees Celsius higher than I needed to be. And I was using my big workstation gun, and it can just pump the heat in. So no, I didn't have any trouble getting to temp. But
that'll be an important note. I don't know if it's in the course stuff yet, but
thermal relief.
thermal relief, and I would thermal relief your surface mount components as well, which you don't always do. Like if you have a board that's being made by an assembly facility, you don't need to thermal relief your surface mount components because it's going to go through an oven and everything's going to get to supposedly the same temperature, and it's not an issue. It's just things that need to get like hand soldered and stuff. But yeah, so we're hand soldering all this, so make sure you got good thermal release happening. Otherwise, it's not going to be fun.
That is an excellent point. We'll definitely have to hit on that.
That needs a video of its own, I think.
What's that?
That needs a video of its own, either yours or somebody's, to to say what it is and how to do it right. It's not one I've covered yet.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I do have some videos on how to solder. I would love, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, but I would love to get those edited down for length. Because I think there's, like you said, Brian, there's like 3 getting started in surface mount soldering.
Yeah, but they look remarkably similar. If I hover over the image, the thumbnail in YouTube, they all do the same clip. So I'm thinking they're all almost an hour, but within a couple minutes of each other, like they were just cut off differently. One's the original stream, and then there's 2 others.
That could be.
So,
so I could maybe just need to delete some.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll have to put it on. Maybe if you don't mind, put it in my errors and corrections, and we'll make a list. Oh, something else I saw in the forums that I would encourage you guys not to do. And if the person's watching, I already wrote them a note, but the person did something and they made a mistake, and I could tell that the tone shifted as soon as that happened. It became a lot more formal, a lot more apologetic. I became Mr. Hughes instead of Mark. It's like, no, dude, everybody makes mistakes. I make a ton of mistakes. Ask Jesse, he fixes them. Jesse makes a few mistakes. I don't see them, but he eventually finds them himself. Mistakes are part of this process. There's too much going on to not make mistakes. Whether it's a stupid mistake or, a mistake of whatever the reason, don't beat yourself up too much, man. Life's too short. Right?
How many mistakes have people found in the forums already? And this is our revision 3,
They've actually found some pretty,
that's what I'm
pretty good ones. Yeah.
Like, so it's, we're on revision 3 and we both, do a lot of boards, and we're still like, we didn't have time to do it all, and nobody does. So that's the benefit of having the crowdsource. Everyone's gonna make mistakes. The more eyes are on it, the better the outcome.
Yep. Oh, looks like Brian's sharing with us here. What are we looking at, buddy?
That's the front side of my board. The outline isn't showing. Where is it? I can't click on the video, stupid. Yeah, it's not showing the outer edge. But
what happens if you view 3D?
What was that?
What happens if you view 3D? There is an edge cuts there still, or is it just not showing because you're planes? This will show you if you have like an edge cuts issue.
I didn't have an issue yesterday, but it seems to be complaining now.
The board that never ends. It goes on and on.
It goes on and on until the cows come home.
Okay, here's a tip. In KiCad, if you make a footprint that is like your board outline and etc., and if you manually place any footprint that isn't tied to your schematic, when you push updates, or I don't remember if you push updates to your board. Hang on, let me do it quick on my version of KiCad here. Tools, update PCB from schematic. No, yes. There's a check mark that says delete extra footprints. If you have that, it will delete. Like if you had manually placed a board footprint, if it doesn't exist on your schematic. So just to note, that happened to me a ton because this is a footprint to me. this board with the solder mask and the silk and all that stuff was a footprint. So every time I went to like update my PCB from schematic, if that was checked, it would delete my board outline and all that other goodness. So
That must have been what happened, because I did update stuff just, relatively recently, but the outline is gone. So,
and a way around that, a negative of having that box not checked is if you have extra footprints, like let's say you deleted a switch, that also wouldn't get deleted if you have that unchecked. So what you can do is, I haven't done this, but what I've done in other issues is, yeah, exactly, Elliot. You make a symbol in your schematic and you tie it to the footprint of the board. So, and that's what I've done at my jobs. You actually have like a symbol for the board, you have a symbol for the schematic, and you have a symbol for like the paste, and just because those are actual part numbers that get exported in the BOM. But that's a note for all you KiCad people out there.
All right. So a couple other quick updates. Altium Live is combining with IPC Apex Expo in January, and they are going to allow virtual attendees to attend for free, which is great news for all of us who live far away. But they've also donated 2 conference passes. So if you're going to be down in San Diego area around January, let me know. And if it's, if I get 2 people that say, hey, I'm interested, I want to go, it's yours. If we get more than that, we'll figure out a way to share them or lottery them or whatever. But the Altium Live's always wonderful. It's great people, great presentations. IPC is going to be interesting this year too. We've got a small hand in it, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say what that is, but it's going to be something cool. Yeah, I think that's all my updates. Nice. What's your cow's name?
I have no idea. I'm going to let the kids name it. I'm going to be making 2 different colored cases. We got, one for each of the grandkids with age appropriate games for each.
Elsa and Bogey. Elsa's the Jersey cow. Bogey's going to be a Holstein.
When you make your footprints, I think you can. I know you can assign a step file for a 3D file, and then you don't have to manually assign them. And then your stuff will have all the 3D pieces of it.
Yeah, what I did is I exported the step with the mounting holes and everything, and brought it into Fusion 360 and did the case in Fusion, which came out pretty well. That's.
Oh, something else.
The only thing I'm worried about is making sure the hole for the USB connector lines up right.
Hey, Jess, I don't know if you'll be home in time, but on Wednesday, Adafruit has a show and tell.
I got dog class.
Oh, man. Yeah. Okay, I was going to say, maybe you could show off your skull. That's pretty cool. So.
I guess someone had mentioned. Hang on, I think Elliot had said something too. Oh my, a lot of things.
Are you on Discord?
No, on the YouTube chats. We will run into KiCad issue with copper cores not connecting to custom paths with thermal leafs. That is, yes. KiCad does not do a good job at connecting things to pores, and I ran into that with Rev 1 of the course. I think you can kind of alleviate some of it by changing certain things on your pore settings, but let's see if I can find an example of it. It does some weird not great stuff that Royal Circuit's flagged on a lot of my things. So a lot of times you end up drawing traces to make up for the missing thermals, because it'll like almost connect them, and yeah.
I had that in a couple small places. Where was it?
I think I actually got errors from Royal Circuits DFM, where they basically said like net to net was like, the net to net spacing was too small, but it was the same net, but they didn't know it was the same because it didn't like pour correctly. It leaves lots of little like fingers of things that are like barely not connected, and it's just like really strange. You end up drawing a lot of your own thermals. Yeah, like that's
one right there. There was one other that did that because it was just too narrow.
Yeah.
And
so Jay said he got a lot of interesting ideas tonight, such as back mounting his LEDs and maybe adding a speaker and make it do double duty as a soundboard. And Elliot made a comment about, yep, the thermals are a pain.
Drawing traces for the missing thermals, even in overlaps in that, it will still leave a rat line counted as unconnected. I don't think I've run into that too often, as long as you make sure that your trace, or maybe what you can do is you can run, I don't know, I don't think I've run into that too much. You make sure to start your trace in the middle of your pad. And then when you re-pour, maybe it'll go away. I don't know. Otherwise, you can.
You could custom pad it.
Make a pad with a connection on it, like
make a pad with thermals.
Yeah,
that connects directly to the pour. I don't like that, but I'm saying with your limited options.
I'm lazy.
I'm going to stick with dip trace until you guys figure all this out, and then I'll switch over once all the problems are solved.
Dip trace has its own issues. So.
It does.
I'm looking forward to, after class is done, to switch over to what will become KiCad 6.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that too.
Trying to be patient and not get away from it for now, but yeah.
And I will say that I've used Mentor Graphics. I've used OrCAD and Allegro for a significant portion of my career. I've done a little bit of Altium, and I'm doing Altium again at work. And I'm going to keep using KiCad at home. Like I could have access to my professional, programs like to do things, but it's just besides liking to separate it, I don't know. I like having, I like having KiCad. So it's not as powerful in some aspects, but I'm going to stick with it.
All right.
And I've done dip trace too.
Yeah. I think if I had my choice and money was no option, I'd probably go Altium Designer. But I don't have $10,000 to spend, or whatever it is these days.
That's why I'm using Fusion 360 instead of SolidWorks.
Yeah.
Full license for SolidWorks is like $4,000.
I'm sure it's more than that. But yeah, it's nice. It's just it's unaffordable.
Fusion, at least now I'm still on the educator version, and I will probably switch over to the small business version, which is a lot cheaper, and it will do everything I need.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, any final thoughts, and we'll get out of here.
So Jay had a comment about back mounting the LEDs. Yep. That's a cool idea. I imagine he's talking about the NeoPixels. They make NeoPixels that are reverse mounts. Otherwise, I think you can also get NeoPixels that have the legs and bend them down. I've seen some videos where people have just like flipped over, like not in terms of RGB things, but they flipped over like a 1206 LED. And they had just like an opening in the solder mask, and they let the board diffuse it, and that's looked really cool. So there's boards have become an art form, you know, within the last couple of years, and people are doing some crazy stuff with them.
So, all right.
Yeah, I'm using the reverse NeoPixels, and the only thing it's complaining about running the DRC is that the pads on the footprint are very close to, if not cut off just slightly by the holes. Because you got it. I copied what Adafruit did on the macro pad, and it's the hole cutout is a little square with little tiny circles in the corner. I'm thinking that was probably
I would
to make make it so that there wasn't rounded corners due to the bit they used.
I wouldn't, Brian. I would drill it. I would just do a single circular drill hole myself. Do a non-plated through hole.
So
and not
you
have
can
them route that.
So
that's
you
still going to impact the pads unless I do something custom with the pads.
so let
You
me
get a round hole over the top of a square thing. It's
Here.
going to overwrite the side pads by quite a bit.
Yeah, you might have to adjust your pads, and keep in mind, you know, like, I mean, you should follow the manufacturer's suggested footprint, but if you need to pull them away, you have to pull them away. I think I tried to use the manufacturer footprint, didn't work out real well. You know, you can have these past where the pins are; they don't need to go all the way back, and you can still get a joint. But this is not. This is part of this footprint. I don't know if it was you or someone else. This is not like on the edge cut layer. This is like a drilled slot that is in this footprint for this reverse mount LED in KiCad. So
Yeah,
here's
I'll have to take a look at it and see. I'm
not on the right computer, but I can pull up the KiCad like footprint to see how I did this. And here, another note, I did not know this, but if your copper overextends a hole, even if it's marked as a non-plated hole, some places will make it a plated hole, like Osh Park, because they just take in one file and they kind of combine it, and they just go based on if there's copper overlapping. So the original one of this board, like, they ended up making a plated hole, and it was kind of I had short circuits that I needed to resolve. And if you have open mask, there's no mask in the eyes here, they won't do silkscreen. And I did not know that. And so, like, all this hatching didn't appear on this other revision, even though it showed up in the Gerber files, because they don't put silk where there is no mask, because they don't want to interfere with your copper. So, which makes sense, but just learning experience. So,
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, you know, my 2 cents was, I think if you look at the dimensions on that routed hole that you're making, it's going to be really flippin' small. So even if you do abide by, if you're using a proper reverse mount LED, I believe the lead length on those is, and this is just going off of memory, so I could be wrong, but I want to say you've got, like, let's call it 30 mils, 25, 30 mils of lead length. So if you drill a hole and you still have your copper set back 12 mils from that hole, you still have room to capture the part.
Yeah, that's my current footprint, with the yellow outline being the cutout.
Do you have a 3D part overlay for that by any chance?
No.
Okay.
But I did not make it very much bigger than what the data sheet said the size of the LED was.
So, okay. I mean, we'll find out. It'll work one way or the other. But yeah, I don't know if they're going to charge.
Why is that in the edge cut layer? Is that your hole? I thought that was silk at first, showing you component outline.
No, the edge cut is that the yellow lines are on edge cut. I had to hand edit the symbol file to get it to work, but it shows it and it cuts the holes out on the 3D.
So, but you don't have. So the circles are an edge cut too.
The circles are a drill, like a millimeter, a millimeter and a half, something like that.
When you hit E on one of those, I want to peek at it real quick if you could. Okay, yeah, so they are. Yeah, let me peek at it. So I'm not understanding how aren't you? I mean, if you're trying to cut that out, don't you need another two lines? Yeah.
By the way, good pickup, Jesse. I thought that might have been a part outline too.
I would do an oblong or even just a circle hole, like you do it as a non-plated pad in that center there. We can go offline and chat about this. Maybe do a little meeting thing. I can show you what I did for my reverse mount. It wasn't a NeoPixel, but it actually had a piece that protruded up into the hole. So I think the NeoPixel at least sits flat. When you're in the footprint editor, here, let me pull up a footprint editor. That isn't the footprint editor. Sorry, I'm pulling up my own thing here. Can you see a 3D view? What does it do for the 3D view of that? Oh, there we go. There's two extra lines.
Yeah, they're there. They just weren't shown. They were behind everything. It does not like doing things with the edge cut in the footprint editor.
Yeah, I would not do it that way. I would do it as either just a drill or like a routed slot drill.
A single plunge in and out.
Yeah, my concern is if I do this, because I think the LED is pretty much almost the size between the pads. So
I'm gonna grab one. I'll be right back.
If I get a drill big enough to do that, it's going to cut the pads anyway.
And you don't have to make it so you can make the pads further out. You're still going to make a connection to where the leads go, and you don't need the hole to be the exact size of the circle of the LED too. You'll cut off some of the light, but
since the reverse mounting, the LED drops down into the hole.
Oh, it doesn't just sit flat with leads?
No, I thought the reverse mount. The leads were on the dark side, and it would actually sit in the hole.
Mark's got one. He's gonna peek at.
Yeah, I'm digging for him because
you're right.
Do you have one handy?
I'm looking at the Adafruit picture, and they look.
Well, I'm looking at the actual product, and they don't.
Yeah, look at that, Mark. You'd have to bend the leads down if you had them sit flat. What do they have?
Can you share what you're looking at, buddy?
I did. I am.
Give me a second here. I am planning to remodel my setup. I just need time to do it. There's Brian's. Where's Jesse? We need Jesse. Oh, there you are. Okay, I'm adding you now.
So that is what we're looking like. Huh.
But no, if I'm looking at,
yep, you would have to have I see what you mean. If you did it as a single hole, it'd be huge. And then are you going to make contact? You probably are.
Yeah, I'm looking at the macro pad right now, which uses those, and they are not sitting down into the board. That is a optical illusion due to the flat picture. They stick up on the mounting side. The hole is just to let the light through. So I should have looked at this earlier and seen that, but a slot will do a much better.
And you could always do 2 routed slots next to each other such that they break out and make this square looking thing. It kind of looks like they might have done something like that. This kind of looks like it might be 3 slots. Hard to tell. You have Eagle, right? They did an Eagle. Do they have the footprints available that you can see what they did that way?
That'd be a good way to go. Just steal it.
The problem with the Adafruit stuff, even though it's open source, supposedly, is that they have they have you the Eagle files, but they don't have the libraries.
Oh.
So it can show you what the board looks like, but you can't open the footprint, which they say they're working.
I really wish Adafruit and SparkFun would switch over to KiCad, because I feel like KiCad has the market for hobbyists right now.
There has been comment about that, yes.
I don't even see a recommended footprint in here. What is up with this?
There's measurements down there. It's
but there's no, I don't see a footprint though.
Keep going down.
That's all I got here, page by page. That's like, I mean, I saw measurements of the chip, but I don't see.
They have the same page with the measurements of the chip has the.
Oh yeah, I didn't have it. My screen was.
So that's what I did. I went with those dimensions and cut out like a couple tenths bigger than the square. But
this shows how far the pads go. I mean, even if you only had half of these pins on a pad, like if your pad started here, I think you'd be okay.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the kludgy stuff I've had to do on boards, like it doesn't have to be a recommended footprint to work. Yeah. You're doing a one-off. Yield can be really high if you work at it.
Yeah, okay. I was going off of what what I'm seeing on the macro pad. I don't have a good enough camera to take a picture of it, but it has this pattern of holes and with a square hole in between them.
I think it's like 3 routed slots, but it's hard to say. I wouldn't do it in the edge cut layer, because then you need to have then you have to give them a route file and your outline file, and just make it as part of make it a plated or a non-plated slot. Mark's gonna pull up some stuff now.
Yeah, I finally found it. It wasn't.
See what you did, just a single drill that's big enough to encompass this. See where your pads would line up. I mean, even if you're only halfway on the pin, or the pin is only a third of the pin is still covered, I think you're still good to do a connection. You're going to be hand soldering these, so.
Let's see. Are we on screen here? A little blurry.
Yes.
Let's pop one of these things out of the packaging. I'm really surprised they didn't give a rounded facet to the front on these reverse mounts. Seems kind of silly to me. But that gives you 2 options there. There we go. Come on. Jesse, do you have any tricks for getting the plastic off these things?
I just take it with the tweezers and pull.
I always have trouble getting it started. There we go.
So it does sit in.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the data sheet showed that too.
So if you do a circle, right, in a circumscribed circle, you're still going to have plenty of pad to catch and solder.
Jesse, do you still have that data sheet up? Can you tell me the width of the package? Was it 3.3 or something?
Yes.
So drills are available in 0.05 millimeter
3.
increments.
3.2 by 2.8, so 3.2 diameter, probably like 3.5.
No, it's more than that. That's the diagonal is going to be more than that, but 3.2 plus 2.8 squared.
Yep.
And the square root. Yeah, it's a 4.25 diameter.
4.25. Oh, I gotta zoom in here. There we go.
I mean, just envisioning a circle around that, even if it's, bigger, those pads are still going to hit copper. They're going to be solderable. You want me to put you back on stream?
Put my share. That's a 4.5 circle, which will. I need to redo the math and check. I need to do it in CAD and check it, but I will just have to move the pads so that it's not complaining.
Yeah, you still
can make it a big drill hole. That's fine. I just need to adjust the pads.
Yeah, you still will need clearance, to be sure. That would be the way I would go, Brian. Option 1 would be just a single drill. Option 2, I would go Jesse's idea, which is start a drill hole or a route here, slot cut it this way, and then exit. So you've got the round part on this side, away from the pads. That would be option 2. Those would be the 2 ways I would do it.
2 overlapping routes.
Yeah, I wouldn't try to get a rectangular route out of that. It wouldn't be worth the effort. I would, honest to God, I would just drill a hole, which is lazy, but that's what I would do. It's going to be dead on accurate. So, but option number 2, which is probably better, is Jesse's, which is a slotted route.
Yeah, 2 of those, he's saying, or are you talking just 1?
I would do 1, but you could do 2. 2 would be better. It's just I don't know that you need it.
Yep, up and he's saying that direction. Yep.
Like that.
Mm-hmm.
Probably needs to be a little longer to get the edges of the circle outside the shell, but there's no reason that wouldn't work. And since I got a matrix, doing the matrix thing. All I have is a diode. I don't have to put the all the resistors and stuff in, which was the space issue. All right. Well, that I will play with that.
Fun. If I had a little more magnification, I think I could make out some of the silicone aspects on that. It's just a little too small. All right, gentlemen. Well, anything else for the good of the cause?
I guess I was just going to say at the beginning, someone asked where I got my board from, and I had said it. But I still also use our sponsor. Like I use Osh Park all the time. So
it just depends on speed and preferences. Osh Park, it's all you get is purple, right? Unless you go for their After Dark series.
Yeah, After Dark, and they only do that 2-layer. And I did actually look at this board in there. I use their viewer a lot, even if I'm not ordering a board from them. I use their viewer a lot to get a good view of what a board's going to look like. But yeah, I just recently ordered a couple more boards from them for I'm making like a light up pin for gaming convention. So big fan of Osh Park. I have many orders from them.
Absolutely. Well, Jesse, man, it was great having you around this evening. That never happens enough.
Yeah.
So, and Brian, man, I love this. This is going to be a cool design.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I
See, okay, so what Brian's showing now is probably is of all the options we've seen tonight, that's probably the one I would go with. I would personally just drill it because I'm lazy and it would work. That route path that he's got there, super simple. It would work. You might get a rough edge on the climb cut, but oh well, nobody would know. So yeah. All right, gentlemen. Well, I mean, we went like half an hour over. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. So, okay, we'll be back Wednesday. Hope to see you there. I don't know if we're going to do a Thursday night one this week, but if anybody's around Wednesday, I'd love to see you. So take care.
Yep. See ya.
Bye.